Every time you're about to go on vacation, you likely dig in your closet or glove compartment to find your trusty favorite sunglasses. Perhaps you enjoy the sleek elegance of some Prada shades, or the sophisticated aura of Tom Ford frames that shield your eyes with a touch of luxury. Yet, none have woven themselves into the fabric of cultural iconography quite like Ray-Ban. Introduced in the 1930s, Ray-Bans were initially designed to protect US pilots from the harsh rays of the sun high in the sky, much like the Top Gun films, which happened to feature them. They thus quickly transcended their military origins to become a staple of fashion and a symbol of cool. From the cinematic allure of James Dean to soulful signature shades of Ray Charles and even the suave Don Draper in Mad Men, Ray-Ban has etched itself into the very definition of a cultural emblem. Yet, little do you know, this pair of shade makers is more than a mere fashion statement. It is a gateway into the history of a $43 billion old money family business. Indeed, for the Del Vecchio family, the iconic Ray-Ban sunglasses are just a small part of an empire that has catapulted the family's teenage heirs into the ranks of the world's richest children, with billions at their whipper-snapping fingertips. In today's episode, we'll share you the full story of this European dynasty, for it is not just about wealth and business acumen, it's a fascinating tale of generational legacy and the unexpected challenges of young fortune as we describe the Del Vecchio family, when billions go to your teenage heirs. The Del Vecchio family doesn't just rub elbows with Europe's modern elite, they practically set the table. And with a staggering combined fortune north of $25 billion in 2024, this family has eyewear domination to thank for most of their glittering success. Now their empire is rooted in the global eyewear juggernaut, EssilorLuxottica, the brainchild of the late family patriarch Leonardo Del Vecchio. He not only founded the company but also drove it to the top of the global ladder, holding on to a 32% stake worth a cool $22.2 billion when he passed away at 87 in 2022. But sunglasses and designer specs aren't the only arrows in the Del Vecchio family quiver. They've spread their wealth across some of Italy's most prominent companies. There's their near 10% slice of insurance giant Generali, worth around $2.6 billion. Then, a tasty 20% in Mediobanca, a key player in Italian finance, and a 27% holding in the French real estate firm Covivio. Yet, of course, no billionaire portfolio is complete without a yacht, and Leonardo had one worth $26 million, not to mention his other personal assets tipping the scales at $80 million. Now, when Leonardo passed in 2022, his vast fortune shifted hands to his wife, Nicoletta Zampillo, and his 6 children, with sons Luca, Clemente, and Leonardo Maria taking the spotlight. The youngest of the lot, Luca, inherited a $4.7 billion chunk of Delphine, the family's holding company, which just so happens to have the controlling interest in EssilorLuxottica. And at the tender age of 22, Luca found himself on the world stage as one of its youngest billionaires, comfortably nestled within the top 500 wealthiest individuals on the planet. But Luca's not the only one reaping the spoils. His brother Clemente, the 19-year-old middle child, pocketed his own $4.7 billion windfall, securing his spot as the world's second youngest billionaire. Clemente's wealth stems from his hefty 12.5% share in Delphine, not bad for someone who was barely old enough to rent a car in most countries at the time. And then there's Leonardo Maria, the elder of the trio, sitting on his own $4.7 billion stake. Now 30, Leonardo Maria isn't just a billionaire by birthright. He's got his hands in the family business, running the Italian retail operations for EssilorLuxottica. Indeed, it seems he's taken on the mantle of keeping the company's wheels turning, while his younger siblings look on from their lofty perches. And in terms of indulgence, the Del Vecchios don't do anything by halves. Their sprawling portfolio is peppered with lavish properties, a $26 million yacht. Check. A villa on the shores of Lake Como. Naturally. A penthouse in Milan's ultra-exclusive Porta Nuova district? Of course. And when they feel like getting from A to B, they have options. There's a Gulfstream G650 for those long-haul jaunts, while their fleet of rare and exotic cars, including a Ferrari Monza SP2 and Bugatti Chiron, caters to more grounded tastes. However, how could such a family that rose from poverty in Italy change their fortunes to field some of the world's youngest billionaires? In Chapter 2, we'll find the answers and set our sights, Del Vecchio style, toward the future. Now, the Del Vecchio family traces its origins to the Papal States of Italy, with the name derived from vecchi, meaning old or elderly. Likely, it points to an ancestor who bore an aged or distinguished appearance, and the family first appears in the historical records during the 15th and 16th centuries, particularly in the city of Rieti. Yet, it is Leonardo Del Vecchio who would carry the family name far beyond Italy's borders, making it synonymous with global business success. Born on the 22nd of May 1935 in Milan, Leonardo entered the world under less than ideal circumstances. You see, his father, a vegetable vendor from southern Italy, had passed away before Leonardo's birth, leaving his mother to raise 5 children with virtually no means. With no other option, she placed her youngest son in the care of the Martinit orphanage in Milan, a move born out of necessity rather than choice. Now, for many, this might have seemed a bleak beginning. However, it would become the foundation of Leonardo's relentless drive. Life in the orphanage was anything but easy, yet it instilled in Leonardo a sense of self-reliance and determination that would later define his entrepreneurial journey. By the age of 14, he took his first steps into the working world as an apprentice to a tool and die maker in Milan. This work required precision, patience, and an eye for detail, skills that Leonardo honed early, and the apprenticeship not only provided him with an income, but also sparked an interest in craftsmanship that would later fuel his rise in the business world. As Leonardo entered his 20s, he began to see opportunities beyond his initial craft. And though the eyewear industry was still in its infancy and he sensed its potential, applying the skills he had gained as a metalworker, he shifted his focus to manufacturing spectacle parts. This transition wasn't just a change in profession, it marked the beginning of a career that would revolutionize the global eyewear market. Then, in 1961, at 26 years old, Leonardo made a pivotal decision to move to Agordo, in the province of Belluno, known as the heart of Italy's eyewear industry. He saw this as the ideal place to develop his expertise further, and once there, he immersed himself in the local industry, dedicating his time to understanding not only the technical aspects of eyewear production, but also the business mechanics of design, sales, and distribution. His work ethic and attention to detail quickly earned him a reputation as a skilled craftsman and a shrewd business mind. Yet Leonardo wasn't content to remain merely a cog in the machine. As his expertise in eyewear manufacturing grew, so did his ambition. Thus, in 1967, at the age of 32, he took the bold step of founding Luxottica, a company that started as a small workshop producing high-quality eyeglass frames. However, this was no ordinary startup. Leonardo's vision for Luxottica went beyond crafting frames. It was about transforming eyewear into a global commodity. Over time, his company would evolve from a modest operation into an industry leader, dictating trends and setting new standards for the global market. In 1967, Del Vecchio made a pivotal decision to launch complete eyeglass frames under the Luxottica brand itself. And by 1971, Luxottica had swiftly moved away from contract manufacturing, seizing the opportunity to establish itself as a standalone player in the eyewear market. The company's next big leap came in 1990, when Luxottica made the bold decision to go public, but not in Milan, as one might expect. Instead, it listed on the New York Stock Exchange, becoming the first Italian company to bypass its own home market. This daring move not only raised capital, but also signaled to the world that Luxottica had bigger ambitions than being an Italian eyewear maker. Certainly, listing in New York was a strategic play for global recognition, reinforcing the company's aspiration to be a serious international contender. Therefore, the impact of the IPO was unmistakable. By 1994, the value of Luxottica's shares had quadrupled, a monetary monument to the market's confidence in its growth strategy. And Del Vecchio, ever the shrewd businessman, retained $80 million from the proceeds, further entrenching his position as the company's majority shareholder. Subsequently, his leadership would steer Luxottica through both triumphs and challenges, solidifying its position as the global titan of eyewear. Armed with the proceeds from the IPO, Luxottica embarked on a series of aggressive acquisitions. It started with Vogue Eyewear in 1990, followed by Purcell and LensCrafters in 1995, and even Sunglass Hut later on in the year 2001. However, its crown jewel came in 1999 when Luxottica purchased Ray-Ban for a cool $1.2 billion. Indeed, the iconic Aviator and Wayfarer sunglasses were already legendary, but under Luxottica's ownership, they would reach new levels of global dominance. But when Luxottica acquired Ray-Ban, the move was more than a mere addition to its brand roster. It allowed the company to gain full control over Ray-Ban's manufacturing and distribution, which streamlined operations and drove profit margins higher. Furthermore, the acquisition reinforced Luxottica's vertical integration strategy, creating efficiencies that competitors struggled to match. By owning every step from production to retail, Luxottica cemented its dominance in the eyewear industry. Ray-Ban's seamless integration was an undeniable success, transforming it into an even more coveted accessory for the style-conscious consumer. However, Luxottica's ascent was not without turbulence, and in the early 2000s, internal family conflict spilled into the public eye. Claudio Del Vecchio, Leonardo's son, who had been tasked with overseeing US operations, found himself ousted in 2004 after a bitter falling out with his father. The dispute led to a legal battle, with family dynamics laid bare for all to see. Moreover, the Del Vecchio family's vast fortune invited public scrutiny. Allegations of tax evasion surfaced, and critics questioned the family's substantial influence over Luxottica's corporate governance. Although these controversies didn't derail the business itself, they did dent the family's reputation, raising questions about the complexities of mixing business and blood. But before his aforementioned ouster, Claudio Del Vecchio stepped into the family business in 1982 with a task that would lay the groundwork for his career, leading Luxottica's expansion into the US, and at that time, Luxottica was hardly the giant it would become. Yet Claudio, sent to steer operations stateside, quickly demonstrated that his business acumen wasn't limited to eyewear, but spanned logistics, supply chains, and market strategy. The early 1980s were thus a pivotal moment for Luxottica, and Claudio's efforts were nothing short of transformational. He turned the company's US venture into a factory-direct powerhouse, quickly gaining a foothold in the competitive American market, and this was just the beginning. The lessons learned, balancing supply chains with market demand, overseeing operations, and building a brand presence, prepared him for the bigger roles ahead. Fast forward to the 1990s, and Claudio was not just a rising star, but a key player in the Luxottica empire. Appointed CEO, he took the reins during a decade that saw the company rocket forward through strategic acquisitions and aggressive expansion. Perhaps the most memorable acquisition came in 1995, when Luxottica added LensCrafters to its portfolio. This move, which was more than just a play for market share, signified Luxottica's ambition to be not just an eyewear company, but a titan of the industry. Indeed, Claudio's vision was becoming reality, brick by brick, brand by brand. But Claudio's leadership wasn't limited to eyewear alone. In 2001, with Luxottica firmly established, he turned his attention to an entirely different arena. Brooks Brothers, the oldest apparel brand in the United States, had been struggling for years, and the retailer, known for its signature preppy aesthetic and a client list that included 40 US presidents, seemed destined for the same fate as many legacy brands: obscurity. But Claudio had other plans. With his acquisition of Brooks Brothers, Claudio took on a challenge of a different sort. His vision for the brand was to blend its deep-rooted history with modern flair, restoring the classic label to its former status as a symbol of American elegance. And his strategy was a deep dive into Brooks Brothers' archives to reintroduce what had made the brand iconic in the first place: tailored suits, formal wear, and a level of craftsmanship that had become scarce in the age of fast fashion. This push toward timelessness found an audience that craved quality in an increasingly casual world. Yet despite these efforts, the early 2000s presented obstacles beyond even Claudio's control. While he worked to globalize Brooks Brothers, opening international stores and strengthening its e-commerce presence, larger market forces were shifting. The rise of online retail and changing consumer habits put pressure on traditional brick-and-mortar businesses, even one as storied as Brooks Brothers. And when the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, it proved to be a blow too strong to withstand. Brooks Brothers filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. However, the story didn't end there. A new chapter was written when a consortium, including Authentic Brands Group, stepped in to save the label, ensuring that Brooks Brothers' long history of style and sophistication would live on. In June 2022, the Del Vecchio family, as well as the world at large, was jolted by the passing of Leonardo Del Vecchio at 87. As founder and chairman of EssilorLuxottica, Del Vecchio had meticulously built a global empire, and his death closed the chapter on one of the most significant entrepreneurial journeys of modern times, leaving both his family and the company to grapple with the legacy he left behind. Then, shortly after his passing, EssilorLuxottica's board convened to address the inevitable question of leadership. Francesco Milleri, a longtime ally of Del Vecchio and personally backed by him, retained his position as CEO. His continued presence at the helm provided a degree of continuity, offering investors and employees alike a steady hand amid a period of potential upheaval. However, Del Vecchio's death set into motion more than just corporate planning. The distribution of his estimated $25.5 billion fortune, perhaps unsurprisingly, garnered attention. His will laid out a clear division of his wealth among his wife and 6 children, products of 3 different relationships. Yet despite the loss of its visionary founder, EssilorLuxottica did more than merely survive in 2023, it thrived. With Milleri in the driver's seat, joined by Deputy CEO Paul Dussaillant, the company posted record-breaking financial results. Revenues soared to €25.4 billion, up by 7.1% at constant exchange rates, signaling that the eyewear giant was not losing any of its momentum. Additionally, strategic investments were made into burgeoning product categories like myopia management with Stellest lenses and cutting-edge wearable tech through the Ray-Ban Meta collection. And, as the year unfolded, EssilorLuxottica broadened its reach, adding more luxury names like Moncler and Jimmy Choo to its growing portfolio. The company also leaned heavily into artificial intelligence, leveraging data-driven strategies to enhance innovation and operational efficiency. Thus, the post-founder era might have seemed precarious, yet EssilorLuxottica was already looking toward the future with confidence, building on the foundation Del Vecchio had laid. And yet, the Del Vecchio family itself remained very much a part of this evolving corporate narrative. And as the family looks to the future, the next generation appears ready to leave its mark on the dynasty, each playing a role in its continued success. Luca Del Vecchio, the eldest son, has already stepped into the spotlight. Ranked 665th on the global billionaires list with an estimated fortune of over $4 billion, he's now Italy's 16th wealthiest individual. Therefore, Luca's expertise in the eyewear industry, coupled with an acute understanding of his father's ambitions, places him in a prime position to shape EssilorLuxottica's future. Meanwhile, Clemente Del Vecchio, the youngest at just 19, holds a different kind of distinction. Named by Forbes as the world's youngest billionaire with a net worth of $3.9 billion, he has yet to take on a formal role within the family's enterprises. Yet his interests hint at a future not tied solely to eyewear, and Clemente's enthusiasm for science and technology signals potential moves into areas like biotech or the digital frontier. Of course, with billions at his disposal and a world of innovation before him, his course is one to watch. Then there's Leonardo Maria Del Vecchio, the middle son, whose active involvement in EssilorLuxottica has already contributed to the company's success. With his experience and industry knowledge, he is well positioned to provide continuity as the family navigates the inevitable challenges of succession. Should Luca step up to the helm, Leonardo Maria's role as a key player in the strategic evolution of the business could prove indispensable. Thus, with earth-shatteringly large resources that allow for bold experimentation, the Del Vecchio family could very well emerge as influential players in industries that, until now, were far removed from their eyewear beginnings. And now we'd like to see you in the comments. Were you familiar with the Del Vecchio family and their monumentally wealthy heirs? And if you have been, what is your opinion on their dynasty and respective companies? We can't wait to hear from you. And thanks again for joining us for another episode of Old Money Luxury. Cheers, until next time.